Franz Schubert was born on a crisp January day in 1797 in a small Viennese suburb. The 12th child of a humble schoolmaster, young Franz grew up in a home filled with modesty, but also with music. His father played the cello, his older brother the violin, and the family's small home often resonated with the sounds of their evening performances. But it was clear early on that Franz was no ordinary child. By the time he was 5, he was already composing music, his tiny fingers dancing over the keys of an old piano. Schubert's talent was undeniable, and he was quickly enrolled in the choir at the Imperial Court Chapel. His voice, sweet and angelic, captivated audiences. But his real gift wasn't in his singing, it was in his ability to compose melodies that seemed to pour directly from his soul. By his teenage years, Schubert had already written his first symphony and dozens of lieder, songs that set poetry to music with a depth and sensitivity far beyond his years. Life, however, was not kind to Schubert. While Beethoven was celebrated across Europe, Schubert remained in relative obscurity. He spent much of his life teaching music lessons to children, often scraping by to afford ink and paper for his compositions. Yet, despite his struggles, he never stopped creating. By the time he was 20, Schubert had written over 600 works, including the hauntingly beautiful Erlkönig, a song that would become one of his most famous. Schubert's music was a reflection of his inner world, passionate, melancholic, and deeply human. His melodies captured the beauty of nature, the pain of unrequited love, and the fleeting joy of life. He had a rare gift for turning poetry into sound, and his songs brought words to life in a way no one had done before. But even as his music grew richer and more profound, Schubert's health began to fail. In his late 20s, he contracted syphilis, an illness that would shadow his final years. Despite his declining health, Schubert composed with a feverish intensity, as if he knew his time was short. In his final year alone, he wrote his Unfinished Symphony, the Great Symphony in C major, and his heartbreaking song cycle, Winterreise. These works, filled with longing and introspection, are considered some of the most profound music ever written. Schubert passed away on November 19, 1828, at the age of 31. He was buried next to Beethoven, the composer he had admired so deeply but never met. At the time of his death, Schubert was largely unknown, his genius unrecognized by all but a few close friends. It wasn't until decades later that the world began to appreciate the full scope of his work. Today, Franz Schubert is celebrated as one of the greatest composers of all time. His music, filled with beauty, emotion, and humanity, continues to touch hearts and inspire listeners around the world. Though his life was brief, his legacy is eternal, a testament to the power of art to transcend time and speak to the soul.